Hello.
Hello, Dr. Brad.
Hello, Caia. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. It's an honor
Good.
to talk to you today because it's your birthday. Not in
Oh,
America.
yeah. Well, it's my birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, but
Close.
tomorrow, here in Australia.
Oh, yeah, right. It would be
Already
my birthday,
8 o'clock. Yes. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. It's
Yes.
great to be alive still.
Yes. It's wonderful. I've already put your introduction before this video so that everyone knows who you are and then what you're doing. But we're gonna talk about the emotion code and body code today.
Well, all right. Well, you can see here the book, The Emotion Code, is really groundbreaking energy healing because it makes energy healing simple.
Mm-hmm.
So simple, really, that anyone can do it. A child can do it, or someone that doesn't have any kind of experience with healing of any kind. People that don't know anything about anatomy or quantum physics or anything can still do the emotion code and be successful at it. And children can do it and are doing it and having success in different parts of the world. So, so it's truly groundbreaking in that way, that it makes it so simple. And really, really approachable, I think. So, my story really started out when I was 7 years old. I had the measles, and I was really sick, and my parents had made a bed for me on the couch in the living room upstairs. We had a 2-level house, and everyone else had gone to bed this particular night, and I had overheard my parents talking, and I knew that the plan was that I was supposed to be going into the hospital the next day, into something called an oxygen tent. And I didn't really know what an oxygen tent was. The tent part sounded kind of interesting, but I was really too sick to think about it. And my parents came into the room, and my mother said to my father, she said, "Honey, will you kneel down with me and say a prayer so that our boy will be able to get well?" So they did. Now, knowing my dad wasn't a preacher or anything like that. He was in real estate and in construction, but I think my parents were really worried about me, and so my dad starts praying, and I have all of a sudden something happen that is kind of just impossible. This change started at the top of my head, and it went whoosh through my body to the soles of my feet, and I was instantly made well and healed. And that experience happened so many years ago, but it really, to me, it's like it happened yesterday. Well, so then about 7 years later, I ended up with kidney disease, and there was nothing, no treatments really available for me in Western medicine. So my parents took me to see some old-time doctors that practice in a clinic that looked like this, and they actually were able to get me well, and it was a remarkable thing. And so anyway, prayer has been a very important part of this work, and being open to alternatives, being open to the idea that maybe there's a better way to do something. That's kind of how all of this really came about. And one of my favorite quotes was from Nikola Tesla, who said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." And that's really what this is all about. The bottom line is that we are beings of energy. Everything is made of energy. Everything has a vibration. Now, some energy takes the form of physical matter, like our bodies. But quantum physicists like Albert Einstein, they've all said there really is no matter as such. We think of matter as the stuff we can touch and feel and see. But Einstein said that matter is really just energy that's slowed down in its vibration enough that we can feel it and see it and touch it and so on. And so then there's the energy that is part of us, that makes up part of who we are, and that is invisible energy, the spirit, the chi, the ki, the prana, that has been known about, for thousands and thousands of years. Okay, so try to imagine a life without any emotions. Try to imagine a life where you never feel frustrated, you never feel angry, you never feel sad, but you'd also never really feel happy. You'd never really feel joy or fulfillment. Life is really colored by our emotions, and they provide motivation and direction and contrast for us. But sometimes we end up with emotional baggage. And sometimes our emotional baggage can really create trouble for us. And so it can sabotage our lives. Sometimes we end up getting into relationships with other people because they have similar emotional baggage to ours. And it's not really that healthy. So if you think of the body itself as being an energy field, what happens to us is that emotional energies sometimes become trapped in the body. When an emotion is very powerful, or the emotional experience, maybe an emotion comes up for you and you don't want to go there, and you bury that, you stuff that emotion. A trapped emotion is like a ball of energy, like what you see here maybe in the picture. And these are invisible, of course. You can't see these. But typically they're about the size of an orange to the size of a cantaloupe. And they can lodge anywhere in the body. And wherever they lodge, they tend to cause a couple of problems. So what you need to understand is that when we start out in life, for the most part, we come into this world as a pretty clear, clean slate, a clean, clear energy field. But then maybe you're a child and your parents are arguing, and you develop a trapped emotion of grief about that. You go to school and you have things that happen to you, sad things. Maybe your pet dies. Maybe your parents get divorced. Maybe there's somebody that you really like in junior high, and they don't recognize you, and so we have all of these things that happen to us, these emotional experiences that can be kind of intense in the moment. We end up with emotional baggage in our bodies. And so these emotional energies can really start to inhabit our bodies. And every one of these trapped emotions is like a little dark cloud in the body energy field. And they cause some major problems for us, which I'll explain in a minute. But the emotion code is simply a way to start removing these energies out of that field of yours so that you can get back to this clear, clean, pristine energy field that you are really supposed to be. And it's interesting because, when people get rid of enough of their emotional baggage, they often say things like, it feels like stepping into a whole new state of being. And really, it's like getting back to who you really are supposed to be. So trapped emotions affect us emotionally, and they affect us physically. They affect us physically, and they cause pain in all of these areas that you can see here and more. And they affect us emotionally too, of course. And the more trapped emotions you have, the more you'll tend to create, unfortunately. So trapped emotions can cause you to make the wrong assumptions. They can cause you to overreact and misinterpret behavior and short-circuit relationships. They cause emotional and mental issues like depression, anxiety, phobias, panic attacks, PTSD, eating disorders, self-sabotage of all kinds. They're a contributing factor to mental illnesses. And of course, they also create discomfort, fatigue, and illness. They disrupt the body's innate ability to heal. They can interfere with organ function, gland function. They can lower immunity and enable a state of dis-ease in the body. So in order to really understand how the emotion code works, you have to understand that we all have a conscious mind, which is where we spend all of our waking hours, right? Where we have our relationships and we work our jobs and all of those things. But when we go to sleep, the conscious mind shuts down. And the conscious mind is interesting because it's less than 1% of our intelligence. That I need to fix that. That's a typo. And it's where we receive input about things, we analyze things, and we make decisions. And we like to think that our decisions are very rational, but those decisions we make are heavily influenced by what's going on in the subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of storage space in there for memory, right? And so Caia, let me ask you, have you forgotten anything at all this week at any point?
A lot of things.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I forgot what the question was. Now, the subconscious mind, on the other hand, is more than 99% of our intelligence. Mm-hmm. And it's a holographic computer that's remembering and archiving everything that you've ever done, every face you've ever seen in a crowd, everything you've ever eaten or tasted or touched or smelled is all in there in that subconscious mind. And it knows what's wrong with a person. It knows what emotional baggage they have. It knows your own subconscious mind knows exactly what you need to be totally healthy, right? And to live as long as you can possibly live. Mm-hmm. So in the emotion code, we have a chart of emotions. It looks like this. There are 60 emotions on the chart, divided up into 2 columns and 6 rows. And so what we simply do is we ask the subconscious mind questions and we get answers, and the subconscious mind can guide us to whatever emotion is trapped in the body. Mm-hmm. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's how this works. So I'm curious, Caia, how did you find out about the emotion code?
That was a video I watched quite a long time ago, because I've been using the emotion code for the past several years. And then when I was in France, that was quite a long time ago, I just watched your video and then I bought your book. And then it starts from there. But it was amazing because people think that emotion, their feeling is everything. But I said to them, it's just on the surface. Sometimes anger and the fear comes because they want to protect the other feelings. And then we need to know about those deep down feelings so that we can, take care of the cause of the feeling. But they don't understand. They said, I have anger, so I just gonna go to the anger management. And I say, no, something is hidden in there, And
yeah, well, what happened with me was during all the years that I was in practice, and I practiced for about 20 years, give or take, in one form or another. And I had people coming in to see me, of all different ages, with all different kinds of problems. And what I found was that the subconscious mind of each person knew exactly what they needed. Mm-hmm. And so if I just simply asked, I could get those answers. And it really helped me, Caia, to be a computer programmer before I became a doctor of chiropractic, because being a computer programmer taught me about logic and working with a computer. And in a sense, the body's like a computer. The subconscious mind is like a search engine. It's like Google. It's far more sophisticated than Google, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. But you can ask questions and get answers. So the way that we do it is we have a number of different ways of methods of muscle testing that we teach. And there are self-muscle testing methods where your body will be strong or weak. There are methods where you can test another person's arm. They'll be strong, they'll be weak. And you simply ask questions of the subconscious mind. And if a person has a trapped emotion, for example, you can ask, is it in column A or column B? And one of those will be strong. And then you'll ask, is it in an odd row or an even row? And then very quickly, usually within 30 seconds or so, you've got the emotion, right? Mm-hmm. And then you might need to dig a little bit deeper. It might go deeper. You might need to know more. But, one of the fascinating things that happened to me during all those years in practice was sometimes people would come in to see me and I would have this nagging feeling sometimes that there was more going on with them than what their body was revealing to me. And And I didn't know, it just felt like there was something missing. And it had to do with the heart, of course. The heart we know now is really a second brain. It has an elaborate nervous system. And we now know that the brains that are in our heads, by and large, are obeying the messages that are being sent by the heart, by the brain in the heart, right? And the heart has an energy field that extends out from the body, 12 feet in diameter. It's a holographic field, and the heart generates 60 to 1,000 times more power and electromagnetic energy than your brain, making it the most powerful organ in the body. Well, when you're feeling love and affection for another person, there's a powerful electromagnetic signal that's being sent to them, and your heartbeat will become measurable in their brain waves. So that's pretty amazing. Now, back in the 1960s in the United States, there was a specialist, a doctor, who did the first heart transplant, and it didn't take too long as they started doing more heart transplants before people started coming back to the doctor and reporting new food and drink preferences, new cravings, handwriting changes, musical preferences, memories that sometimes didn't seem to be their own memories. They'd have memories of being in places they never had ever visited. And in fact, there are whole books written about this, of course, but one of these is where a 47-year-old man received a heart from a 17-year-old boy. And the recipient was surprised by his newfound love of classical music. He discovered later that the donor, who loved classical music and played the violin, had died in a drive-by shooting, clutching his violin case to his chest. Another one is where, actually, I think she was 9 years old. The 9-year-old girl had recurring nightmares about being killed after receiving the heart of another child who had been murdered. Her descriptions of the murderer, as well as the murder weapon, led to the arrest and conviction of the killer of the donor. So in other words, this girl gets this heart transplant, starts having these nightmares that she's being killed, and what she was seeing was the murder of the heart donor. Well, ancient civilizations understood that the heart was really the seat of the soul and the core of our being, our source of love and creativity and romance and so on. One of the most ancient books ever written, of course, is the Bible. And if you look in the Bible, the word heart is mentioned just shy of 1,000 times. Anyway, that heart is really the precious core of who we are. Now, if you think about it, I mean, if somebody's really hurting you, or you're really deeply grieved about it, a death in the family or a breakup or some terrible thing, it doesn't give you a headache, it gives you heartache. You feel this physical sensation. And that's why people will often put their hands over their heart. They're feeling this because the heart is under attack. It's under assault when those things are going on. So the heart is really the precious core of who we are. And sometimes we feel like our heart is breaking. And so sometimes people say, well, I had to put up a wall because I was in a bad situation. And I think sometimes that's literal. I think that God gave us the onion so that we have a picture of what a heart wall is like. Here's a little heart in the center, surrounded by the energy of layers of emotional baggage, anger and resentment and frustration and sadness and so on, or whatever emotions a person might have been through. And so it's a protective mechanism. Sometimes we put up this wall to protect our hearts from being totally broken. And so those trapped emotions will surround the heart layer by layer, just like the layers of an onion, like you see here. And the problem is when you've got a heart wall, it interferes with your ability to really connect to other people on a heart-to-heart level, right? It interferes with your ability to fall in love and to stay in love and to find your soulmate or to really create the life that you want. And so it's an interesting thing. Sometimes people stay single because they've got a heart wall. And by the way, 93% of people have a heart wall. 93%. And so what happens is when you're trying to send love, a message of love and interest to another person, but there's a wall there of all these negative emotions, it might start out as a butterfly and end up on the other side of this wall, like the thing from Alien, something scary. And so what we see with the heart wall is that it tends to create depression and isolation and feelings of numbness, being numb to emotions. It feeds addictions and social anxiety. And so we believe that the heart wall is implicated, and eventually I think it will be shown that it's definitely implicated in things like heart disease and heart attacks and blood pressure problems and chest discomfort and respiratory difficulties and so on. Now, a lot of the time when people have a heart wall, they'll notice it because they might have trouble with their neck. Their neck might bother them. They might have trouble with their shoulders, right? They might have upper back discomfort in here, and their immune system might be lowered. You know, they make it, a heart wall will make it harder to get well also. During all the years that I was in practice, the last 10 years I was in practice, most of the people that I saw had been told there was really no hope for them at all. And what I found was all of those people that had been diagnosed with these diseases, they all had a heart wall, every single one. And sometimes what I would do is when a brand new person would come in with some terrible, hopeless illness, I would often test to see how balanced the organs and the chakras and the meridians all were. And I'd write it all down. And sometimes, just as an experiment, I would work on the heart wall first. And then I would come back when the heart wall was cleared and all those emotional layers were gone. I'd come back and check all the chakras and the meridians and the organs and the glands. And most of those would be turned on again. Most things would be reset. It was really fascinating. There was a woman that came in to see me one day, back when I was in practice years ago. And she came in because she had neck pain. It was pretty bad. It was like a 9 on a 0 to 10 scale. And she had seen a couple of other doctors for it, and she wasn't getting any better. So as I'm talking with her, she tells me that she is single. She hasn't dated in 8 years. She's 38 years old. She's never going to date again. She's going to die single. And she was an attractive woman, and she was only 38. And I thought, gee, that's kind of weird. I said, why do you feel that way? What happened to you? She said that 8 years before, she was really deeply in love with this guy who dumped her and broke her heart. And so I tested her and found she had this wall that she put up, 3 emotions. Each emotion had to do with the breakup from 8 years before. So we cleared those one at a time. It probably took me 10 minutes or something to clear them all. When I cleared the last emotion that was wrapped around her heart, all of a sudden her neck pain was just instantly gone. Boom, just gone instantly. And she was, she was ecstatic and thrilled, and she left the office feeling totally fine. And didn't come back for 3 months. And when she came back in, I'll always remember this. I looked at her down the hallway and I said, hey, I haven't seen you for a while. How are you? What's going on? She said, she said, my neck has been fine since I was here. But she said, you cleared that heart wall for me and that really works. She said, about 2 weeks after I was here, I found out my childhood sweetheart has been living right around the corner from me for almost 8 years. And we're dating. Yeah, it's the most amazing thing. I mean, I've seen people suicidally depressed. I've seen them turn around in just a matter of days with having their heart wall removed. And, it's been called the most important discovery in the history of energy medicine, but I didn't discover it. It was shown to me, really. And so it really is, it's a gift from above, that the higher power, God, source energy, the universe, however you want to call it, is giving us this information at this time when we really, really need it, because this world is in this transformational process as I see it. To me, the earth is in labor, trying to give birth to this new world that's going to be ruled by love and by everybody living from their heart. And we're on our way to that, but it's, the thing is, when you live on a planet where 93% of people will put up a huge wall around their heart, well, then you see all kinds of mean things happening. People do mean things to each other because they can't feel with this brain. They only feel with this brain. But if you got a big wall there, it's way harder to feel anything, So anyway, that's kind of, I'm on a mission to get this information out to the world because people have to know about this. Good grief. So, you know, my hope is to just wear my life out getting this information to the world. So I'm grateful to you, Caia, for having me on your channel so I can reach some of the people that you know.
I've seen so many people I worked with, they transform themselves. Therefore, their reality, which are families and the work and then body itself, shift.
It is amazing. You know, funny, one of my favorite stories actually is from one of our practitioners who told us, she said that her sister had been divorced for about 9 years. And one day her sister called her and she said, listen, I need you to come over and do the emotion code on me because she said, I'm tired of being alone. It's been 9 years now that I've been divorced and I'm just tired of being alone. Can you come work on me? And maybe I've got some blocks in the way. And so she did. So the two of them spent the weekend together, Saturday, Sunday, working on her heart wall, cleared her heart wall on the second day. And neither one of them told anybody what they were doing. They just spent the weekend together. It was just a private thing between the two of them. But on Monday, the phone started to ring. And it was guys calling her that had known her before. And that, see, that energy all of a sudden shifted, right? Now her heart is open. And so that energy goes out and it goes out and fills the whole world. And so those guys that were on that wavelength, boom, they start thinking about her. Oh yeah, you know what? I should call her. I wonder what she's doing. I haven't seen her for years. Hey, what's up? That's how it works. It's amazing. It is really, truly amazing. We're truly all so interconnected. And it's sad that we have such a hard time realizing that in this world that we live in, but that's the truth.
But with your method, we can start, learning what's going on, then how we connect with each other, and then, or understanding of these trapped emotions. So, people will start to feel the happiness and then feel the reconnection, or whatever you can call it, to each other. And we're talking about the trapped emotions, but I want to just talk about the inherited trapped emotions, because I have a story of a Japanese lady. Japanese lady. She came to see me and she said to me, I've been working on my inner child and I'm doing well. I've tried so many different methods. And then I think I already done all that, but something is blocking me still. Can you help me? And I said, okay. So at that time I could only do the emotion code. So I just did the emotion code with her. And what we found were all inherited emotions, trapped emotions. So one was coming from the ancestors and one come from the grandfather. And then at the end of the session, she said, of course, I cannot get rid of those because I didn't even know that they existed.
So what happens to us is that when we experience something that is difficult or maybe traumatic, and we develop a trapped emotion from that, at the point where we're conceiving a child, our subconscious mind may decide that it's important for that child to have this information. And so that emotional energy then becomes shared with the child. Now, scientists are finding out that animals do this. They're finding out that even lower animals, more primitive animals, will share traumatic memories down the line of genealogy up to 14 generations. It makes sense if you think about it. So, my favorite story about this is something that happened to me. I asked my daughter, Natalie, to work on me one day, and this is about 2 years after the Emotion Code book came out. So this would have been in 2009. And she was living about 1,000 miles away. And so she started working on me. I was on the phone with her and she said she'd work on me right away and hung up the phone. And so she's tuning into me and working on me remotely, which you of course know very well how to do. But the bottom line is that because we're all connected, we can work on family members and friends and other people, and they can be on the other side of the world. And it doesn't matter where they are because it works the same as if they're live and in person, right? And you've seen that. You know that's true. So anyway, my daughter's working on me, and right away what she finds is that I have an inherited trapped emotion of hopelessness that I got from my father, that he got from his mother, that she got from her mother, that she got from her mother, and my daughter traced it back, and it went back 22 generations.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, my daughter could feel the presence of that grandmother that this started with. She could feel, she was right there next to her. She could feel her emotion. She could feel how desperate she was to have this energy released from her posterity. She could also feel how overwhelmed with gratitude she was that this was being done. Imagine sitting at, I'm sitting at my desk, and all of a sudden, this background feeling of hopelessness that I have had my entire life is suddenly gone. And you know, it was such an amazing thing because it was only 2 years after I'd written the Emotion Code book, and I thought I'd cleared out all my trapped emotions before, you know, all my emotional baggage. But you know, if anybody had asked me during the writing of the Emotion Code book how I felt about that project, without any hesitation, I would have used that word. I would have said it feels hopeless, but I'm persevering, I'm continuing. And when that was suddenly gone from me, I suddenly recognized it for the first time in my life. I thought, oh my gosh, that feeling has been there my whole life, and now it's gone. And it was amazing what happened to her too, because she is one of the most gifted artists that I've ever met. And she is just incredibly talented, but she'd never painted anything or drawn anything really until that emotional energy was removed. And then about a year later, my wife and I went to this art showing where all this artwork is just pouring out of her. And it was the most incredible thing. And that's what happens, you know, when you release a trapped emotion that's inherited down the line. When you release it, it's really only one energy. And that's a quantum physics phenomenon. You can clear it from one person in the line, it clears from everybody all the way back. And that's what happened in this case. When my daughter released that energy, she could feel it ripple through all those generations. And so it's one of the most powerful aspects of the Emotion Code is to be able to find and remove not only the emotional baggage that you have from your own life, but also that baggage that is with you from the life of an ancestor, or from you know, the life that you were living before you were conceived. Because life doesn't begin for us at conception. You know, we've lived, I believe we've lived forever without beginning. You know, all of us, and so we experienced emotional things and ups and downs before we were conceived. So you can find those with the Emotion Code too, and those sometimes are really powerful. They're a little more rare, but they can be really powerful.
Yeah, I've been doing the you know, regression therapies on people, and then I've seen so many people going through different lifetimes and stuff. So I know, because my background is Japanese, so I believe in the reincarnations, and you know, like life continues, the energy is infinite. So we continue life in different forms and different places and a different realm, and we just experience all that, a part of the creator of the God, or the part of, or essence of. Anyone can learn this technique? Yeah.
Anyone can learn it. It's so simple, and that's one of the really truly great things about it, because you know, our purpose, the purpose that we read together as a team every Monday. Everyone in our company gets together, and we read our company purpose, and our company purpose is healing the world by empowering you, you the individual, because that's the only way that the world can really get healed, is by healing, you know, by empowering individuals to be able to do this. I believe that every single man, woman, and child on this planet has a birthright to be able to heal. And what the Emotion Code and the Body Code as well, what they do is they give back that healing birthright to people, so that, it makes it simple and anybody can do it. And so, yeah, I'm grateful to just be a part of it. And it's not, it isn't about me. I'm just the teacher. I just was the one chosen, I guess, because I'm kind of a workaholic. And I've also been very prayerful. When I was in practice, what I would do before I'd go to work on somebody is I would take a moment and I would ask God to help me with that person. And it was just a totally private, totally personal habit. It was just a momentary pause, really, just a silent asking for help. But in response to that, there were times, Caia, when the information would just flood in like an avalanche, of understanding. And that didn't happen very often, but it did happen sometimes. And I learned from that, that higher power, I think, is always aware of what we're doing. And I had a really profound spiritual experience when I was 15 years old that I very rarely tell people about, but and I didn't tell anybody about this until I didn't even tell my wife about this experience until I'd been married to her for 2 years. But in that experience, I learned that that God lives and is real and is our Father, and that the purpose of everything, that there's a divine purpose for us to be here, and it's all about love. It's all about our ability to learn how to love, right? And I think that the future that is coming, I know that things look dark right now, but remember, it's always darkest just before the dawn, right? And I think that the world that we are headed for is going to be so unbelievably great that I think we can't even wrap our minds around how amazing and wonderful it's going to be. We're going to get there. These old power structures that have held sway, these dark systems, these secret combinations of power where people get together and they enter into these secret covenants to be able to murder more easily and do all of these evil things and not get discovered and not get caught and so on. It becomes, the more you do this kind of work, the more obvious it becomes, I think, who's involved in those kinds of systems. And now we see that this system has reached its tentacles into every country. And so they're able to pull off, the whole pandemic thing and all of this stuff, but they're not going to win. They're going to fail. And because the light always drives away darkness. And so it's just interesting because the history of this world, has, and the history of the universe really, I suppose, is about this battle between light and dark and good and evil, right? And the yin and the yang and the light and the dark and the bad and the good and so on. But we're kind of reaching a crescendo, I think, on this planet. And it's going to be, I think, rough for a while, but we're going to come out on the other side of it, and it's going to be a whole new world. And I can't wait to get there. It's going to be, I think, really incredible.
It is. Because about 2 years ago, I was telling my friends that this is going to be like a dancing Siva, the death and the rebirth. So the transition is happening, but this is not a bad thing. And then end of the Kali Yuga is coming up. And then 2025 is the starting of the Satya Yuga, which means truth Yuga. And then the Kali Yuga is a darkness and, I don't want to say bad, but a negative part of the world.
Right.
And then we're coming into the light. So this transition is not bad. There's no such a bad things in the world. It's just our perceptions. And then everything is balanced up. We don't see the light if we don't experience the darkness. So that everything is with a purpose, right? And then this transition is making the humanity to be awakened. And then I've spoken to Dr. Emoto's son the other day. And then
really?
Yeah, I did an interview on him, and I had a conversation with him on emails and stuff. But he showed me the crystal form, water crystal form of the, I cannot say this word because maybe it's censored, the virus people talk about.
Yeah.
And then it was a half beautiful form and a half was broken. So
really,
yes,
that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. I can put that picture in this video, but what it was saying, and then I translated to him, was that these things, you know, if you talk to the water and then say negative and a dirty word, what happened? It breaks completely. But this virus had a form and half beautiful, half broken. And then I said to him, this is just showing us that we are having the choice point. You know, what do you want from now? You know, this way or that way. So everything has a purpose. And so we are in a very interesting time frame that we are living in. And we're experiencing all this. But anyway, the interview is coming to the end. And I just want to ask you, because I always ask this question to everyone, but what is the life? What is life for you?
What is life for me? Well, you know, when I think about the people who have died and have come back, because that does happen sometimes, and then they tell these stories, and the questions that they're asked, you know, when they have a life review, sometimes they're shown their whole entire life and how the effect of everything that they did, everything they said, every action they took, how the ripple effect of every single one of those actions went out into the world and how it affected other people. And they're able to comprehend all of that in just a moment on the other side. And when I think about those people that have a life review and they're never asked, how big of a house did you live in, or how fancy of a car did you drive? They're never asked about that. Instead, they're asked, how much love were you able to develop for your fellow beings in the world, and how much knowledge were you able to gain? And I think that to me, life is really about that. It's about unconditional love primarily. And I believe that the energy that emanates from the presence of God, that fills the immensity of space, that is in all things and through all things, gives life to all things, that actually is the love that is emanating from the presence of God, our Father. And so it's like, if we can learn how to cooperate with that and align our lives with that love, and become vessels of pure love ourselves, the more we're able to do that, and the more we're able to ascend, and our vibration becomes so high that the things of this world don't really affect us very much anymore. And I think that that's kind of what it's about. So for me, life it's always about striving to, day by day, trying to do a little bit better each day, and trying to move towards that place of unconditional love.
Beautiful.
Good question.
Yes. Everyone has a different, way of describing their life. And then, that was very beautiful. So thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Brad. And I will put the link of your website and then everything with this video so that people can find you. And
okay.
I hope I will see you soon somewhere around the world. Hopefully in Australia.
Yeah. Well, let's stay in touch for sure.
Yes.
I would love to get back over there. I'd like to do a tour where we do Australia and New Zealand, and then do Indonesia and.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
thank
then,
you. It's really nice to connect.
Yes. I'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.